What's going on, guys? Welcome to my channel, SHORTSLABS. This is Tyler here, and on this channel I bring you the best content on YouTube related to sports card grading, hobby trends, and market analysis so that you can enjoy the hobby either as a collector, flipper, or investor. In this video, I'm going to be showing you, the viewer, proof that you can actually make a lot of money buying and selling sports cards. And to do this, I'm going to be going through one of my recent graded card orders that I just sold through consignment to show you just how much you can make flipping sports cards. So as many of you know who watch the channel closely, I put up a video recently showing one of my recent graded card orders that I consigned through Spreadsheet and 123 at the end of March. One viewer commented asking about the financial breakdown, including how much I eventually made on the order, asking would I be able to provide some specifics. Well, today, guys, here I am to show you what the financial breakdown of that order is. So stay tuned and hope you enjoy the video. So here you guys can see I have my spreadsheet pulled up for the order that I actually got back from PSA and then I sold through Spreadsheet and 123. This is also going to be a good video to show you guys how I actually capture the different products that I have and how I do my record keeping in terms of my inventory. So as you can see, I have the columns outlined exactly as the columns would be outlined if I were to copy and paste my graded card orders from PSA over. There's only one missing column here in between card and cost, I believe. But otherwise, it's pretty much simple cut and paste. So whenever I buy cards, what I would do is simply input this data into my Excel spreadsheet. Obviously, I'll leave the quantity blank, serial number blank, grade blank. Typically, I might actually guess what the grade is, so sometimes it's really fun to see if I actually guess correctly or not. But overall, I will document everything and then also put the cost that I paid for the card. And this cost factors in essentially every piece that would go into the final price. So whatever I pay, including taxes, shipping, etc., goes into this column. So once I have everything recorded and once I get the cards graded, I will simply copy and paste that into this file. And that's great because what that allows me to do is now the data is mineable. So rather than saying 2017 Panini Donruss Optic 177 Patrick Mahomes the second, in multiple different iterations, if I ever want to do any type of data analysis on this and run pivot tables to see, well, what types of cards am I buying and selling and which ones are the most profitable, I can do that. So I will do one of these spreadsheets for every single graded card order, in addition to logging them into an Excel document that has everything broken out by year. And then even further, I have that broken out into a comprehensive document that shows every card that I've graded, really dating back into 2017. 2017 is whenever I really started wanting to grade this on a much larger volume scale. I couldn't do it back then just due to the position that I was working, but now I'm getting into a place where I can actually grow that. So that gives you a little bit of background in terms of what you're looking at in terms of an Excel spreadsheet. So card, quantity, serial number, grade, card, cost. Grading, essentially have a final value here at the very bottom that shows how much I paid for the graded card order, and that includes return shipping, etc. So for this entire order, which was 100 and I'm trying to slow roll it so I don't show you guys how much I made on this exactly. 169 cards, so it cost me about $1,431 to get everything graded. So as you can see, everything that has a sell value here is something that I've sold. This sold value takes into consideration all the fees associated with selling. Because I sell everything on commission, I don't necessarily need to do the calculations. Spreadsheet 123 does that for me, which is great. Takes all the legwork out. So Rick, if you watch this, or if you, I hope that you watch it. If you watch it, thank you so much for the service that you do, because I wouldn't be able to do this if there wasn't anyone like you to sell stuff for me. So much appreciated. But as you can see, there's a couple of cards that I did not include in this order. And these are cards that I've essentially pulled back that I'm hanging on to because I'm investing in these cards and I want to see their values appreciate over time. So these are conservative values in terms of what I think that the cards will actually go for. Typically the cards would go for much more than that. So very interestingly, so if I looked at Patrick Mahomes Select 247, so if we pull up Patrick Mahomes 247 Select, we can see that this card has gone up in value considerably. I'm spelling Mahomes incorrectly. So this card has gone up really a lot in value. So the PSA 10 is now over a $3,000 card. There hasn't been, for the silver version, there hasn't been a PSA 10 for the base to sell recently. There's been one in April, but these prices have really exploded since then, or that was a PSA 9. There was one that sold March 25th. This card has increased exponentially since then. A PSA 9, it looked like, was selling in the $600 to $700 range in late April. I think those values are already outdated, as you can tell. Even these sales right here, these PSA 10 sales, are outdated. So as you can see, these are probably fair conservative estimates in terms of a PSA 10 for the non-silver and then a PSA 9 for the silver. In terms of contenders, I actually sold one of these contenders PSA 10 Trey Young autographs after fees for $653. You can see my reaction in the video. I would encourage you to watch it. It's actually pretty entertaining. So I would assume that I can at least get $450 after fees for the second one. There was another copy of this card that sold after my auction that did not break $500. So this may be a high valuation. It may be right at the valuation. It just really depends. Max Scherzer, Refractor, and X-Fractor rookies from Bowman Chrome. I've actually sold an X-Fractor. There's, I believe, 4 of these graded. I've graded 2 of them. One of these actually came back a PSA 10, and I sold it for over $500. That's been over a year to a year and a half. So this is, again, a conservative estimate for that X-Fractor and also for the Refractor. So if we go through these cards, you can see Mahomes has made me a lot of money. So thank you, Patrick Mahomes, for winning a Super Bowl. Unfortunately, the value of these cards has gone up even more than that. And luckily, I have around 140 Patrick Mahomes rookie cards, including over 50 to 60. I think it's actually 60 to 70 Donruss Optic rookies that are currently getting graded at PSA right now or are on their way to getting graded. So one of the things that is valuable whenever you grade cards, and there's a couple of different strategies when you grade cards. One, grading cards is the only mechanism that you can add value to a currently existing asset. What do I mean by that? What I mean is that this Patrick Mahomes rookie card from Panini Donruss Optic that I bought for $91.50, if I bought that card at the beginning of the month, and this is May, so let's say I bought that May 1st for $91. On May 2nd, if I knew that I could get that card in a graded card holder, a PSA 10 holder on May 2nd, the valuation improves immediately. I don't have to do anything to the card other than grade the card. So there's inherent increases in value just by grading cards, and that is exhibited through the market that we're seeing. So the market for graded cards, whether it be PSA 9s, PSA 10s, in some instances PSA 8s, vintage cards sell higher for PSA 7, 8 assignments. There's inherent value that you add to cards depending on the grade and depending on the typical condition for those cards. So that's one element to it. The other element, which I've greatly benefited from, and I would argue that everyone who is in the flipping game for sports cards has benefited from, is the overall market increase for sports cards. So when I grade cards, it's not as simple as me going and buying cards on eBay and having those cards be shipped to my place. I send them to get them graded, and all is great. I've actually lost money on one PSA graded card order. I lost over $2,000. The reason why is because you also have to think about the market volatility of the players that you are sending out. So coupled with the grading itself, it also has to include the second element. The second element is prospecting for the future. And I don't necessarily mean the term prospecting in terms of prospecting baseball prospects or rookies, etc. It's prospecting and projecting out into the future 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months. What is this player's value determination going to look like in addition to me grading the card? That's becoming exponentially more difficult as PSA turnaround times are getting longer and longer and longer. So if you're able to get a card back tomorrow that you just bought today, you can have a lot of positive predictive value in terms of what that value determination is going to be. That makes sense. If you're projecting that out 3, 6, 7, 8 months from now, it's very, very hard. And I've actually been burned by that because players get hot and players get cold, just like stocks. When Aaron Judge started to cool off in the latter half of his rookie year, I got burned bad. I lost over $2,000 on one of my graded card orders, and it was not fun. However, I've benefited greatly from the individual players that I've invested in over the past 6 to 8 months. So couple that with the value add from grading, but also the overall market expansion from people getting into the hobby, but the players themselves doing well. Patrick Mahomes, for example, being the key individual in this set who won a Super Bowl. That in itself has been extremely valuable. Trae Young's value has increased over the past several months. Again, I sold this order at the end of March. So Trae Young, if you look at whenever I bought these cards, and for most of these cards, I ended up buying these more towards the end of November. So really October, November, this was November 1st through the first week of December is when I bought all of these cards. So everything here had value determinations at the beginning of the NBA season, towards the middle to latter half of the NFL season, but then I got to sell whenever everything was really, really getting hot. Right whenever spring training was coming up, and all of my baseball prospects were hopefully getting hot, but also we were hopefully getting ready to have an NBA finals and NBA playoff season. So interestingly enough, the market was cold when I sold these. So we had this big expansion and this big run up from January to February to the beginning of March. Believe it or not, there is a market contraction for all of the values here due to COVID-19 and due to the Rona. So if you look at my Gem Mint Giannis rookie, this card was a $2,500 card before Rona. So I didn't get to sell it for $2,500. I sold it for, I think it was $1,500 or $1,600, that after fees knocked it down to $1,335. So was I disappointed with that? Yeah, I was disappointed with it, but overall the market has treated me very, very well for this order, because whenever I bought all three of these Giannis's, I was expecting to sell each one of them for $500, which had I done that, had I sold all of them for around $500, I would have doubled my money. If I can double my money on anything within 3 to 4 months, I'm going to do it over and over and over and over. So the fact that I was able to quintuple my money on the PSA 10 and triple my money on a PSA 9 and essentially double my money on the other PSA 9, I consider that a success, even in the middle of a pandemic. So that gives you a little bit of background about my strategy in terms of grading. That gives you a little bit of background in terms of the value add component, but also the prospecting and projecting into the future, because you can't simply just buy cards, grade them, sell them, turn a profit. You can do that, but if you're not doing it smartly, if you're not doing it intelligently, if you're not doing it utilizing analytics, and if you don't really have a good feel for who to invest, then you're going to get burned. And you're not going to be able to maximize your potential, and you might end up wasting a lot of time. Overall, even if you do this and you do it poorly, doing something poorly is inevitably going to be a lesson that you're going to learn. You're going to learn not to do it that way the next time, so the next time it will be better. So take it from someone who has lost $2,000 on a PSA order, that you need to ensure that you're prospecting and projecting out appropriately, and it's not just the grade assignment. I'm going to tell you why that is, and I'm also going to go through the financials here. So if you look at this order, I spent $11,104 on the cards themselves. So essentially this entire column F, every card here cost me $11,104. The grading fee was $1,431. And then so far to date, I have $21,663 in sales. And then based on my assignment in terms of the cards that I still have remaining, these are cards that I currently have in my personal collection, but they're likely going to be jarred loose, assuming that sports comes back to play. Likely will be parting ways with my tie-dye Lamar Jackson. That's the field view tie-dye, which I'm assuming is going to be a very, very hot commodity. I have a conservative estimate of $750, but the silver versions of that card are now going for $750 if I'm not mistaken. Let's actually look at that and see. It's the silvers, and let's look for PSA. So I'll have to look at that. I don't know if that card actually sold for $2,000 or not, but if it did, I don't care. You all can look at it. I can look at it, whatever. If it sold for $2,000, this tie-dye is worth more than $2,000. And it's conservatively worth more than $750. So I have a conservative estimate here of every card in this column equaling up to be about $3,565. So what I end up doing is for my asset column, I combine the sales and receivables. So both of those things together factor into my valuation of what this overall order costs. And some of those sales are already baked in because I've sold them, I've gotten payments for them, and then everything else is cards that I have, and it captures the valuation of those cards. So right now I have $21,000 in sales. I have about $3,500 in receivables. The liabilities are essentially my cost of goods sold plus the grading expense added together. So those are those two fields. And then the profit. So I need to modify this. This is profit with fees. I didn't make this YouTube ready clearly. So profit considering fees. So all the fees have been baked into the sales. And then what I have is an ROI. So this ROI calculation calculates the ROI for the order based on how much my liabilities have produced, an asset value. What is that profitability relative to my liabilities? And as you can see, if an ROI is over 100%, I've essentially doubled my money on this order. So the interesting thing for this, and I'm going to do a separate video on this, but I'm going to give you guys a little bit of detail. The interesting thing is that my gem rate for this order is 51%. Why is that important? That's important because you'll often see, if you go to message boards or if you know anybody who collects cards, oftentimes if they will say, if a card does not grade a PSA 10, I'm not grading it. That is, all right, this is PG-13. That's bullshit. That is bullshit. I'm going to show you why, because all the data is here. So very, very quickly, if we skim through what my graded cards have done, and again, this doesn't take into consideration the grading fee. So what I will typically do in one of my other Excel spreadsheets is I will extrapolate the grading fee through all of these cards. That way, my comprehensive Excel spreadsheet actually does calculate in a column over to the right whether or not I had a very high ROI for each card, and I actually have separate analytics for that show that if I have an ROI that is greater than 100%, it flags a certain color. If it's an ROI between another certain percent, it flags a certain color. If it is negative, it flags red. So it lets me know how many cards that I've graded that whenever I factor in the grading fee, it ends up turning red. So knowing that I don't have this factored in, but essentially it cost me about $8 to $9 a card. This PSA 9 Select Luca, I paid $21 for it, plus $9 is $30. I sold it for $50 after fees. All of these Luca PSA 9 optics, I almost doubled my money on these PSA 9s. Almost doubled my money. I can guarantee you that if individuals saw off-centered Luca optics, they would not pay $94 after fees, which is really $110-ish for an off-centered Luca. And if I'm not mistaken, these were off-centered Lucas. Gleyber Torres, I got a PSA 9. This card should be a PSA 10. Like every single Gleyber Torres, every single Topps Chrome rookie, it's expected that they're PSA 10s. Yet I made somehow $40 on that. Even looking at some of these jersey cards, so this is a Rookie Threads Optic. I basically broke even by the time you factored in the fees, but I did make money. It wasn't in the red. I made like $1 or $2 by the time you factored in the grading expense. Now these Lamar Jacksons, these I did lose a little bit by the time you factored in the grading fee. This was a freebie card, this Donruss the Rookies that I got for $0, as well as it's really funny how I calculate these. So if I buy a card that has a lot of like 4 to 5 cards, I will essentially allocate all of the price to one card and then enter zeros for the rest. So it's either a freebie or it's part of a lot. So I can't really tell with that. For some of these others, so Prism Lamar Jacksons, again, I made a little bit of money on those. So paid about $50 plus $10. I made $5 a piece on them. So my point here, and again, the Giannis's. So the Giannis's, a lot of these were due to the market expanding and the valuation increasing. So it's another thing that you have to take into consideration. I mean, look at these Prism Mike Trouts. I don't even want to look and see what these are going for now, but I know that PSA ringed me on these because these cards were not in this bad a condition. Literally, like I've never gotten graded orders this bad, but I did not lose money on them. I actually doubled my money despite having really, really bad grades. These cards right now are going to be selling in the hundreds of dollars, not $30, $40. So I tend to be in the camp of if you get the card, send it in to get it graded. Now, a lot of people are going to be very, very upset with that, but because it contributes to the volume surpluses that we're seeing, think about this from a reseller standpoint. If I rejected all of these cards and I sent them and sold them through my own mechanism or through Rick Propstein, think of all the different returns that I'm going to have and all of the complaints because the card isn't gem mint. By grading the cards, getting them back in a PSA assignment holder, the buyer of these cards has an expectation that the card is not gem mint because it's already been graded a mint 9 or a near mint 8, etc. So it protects me as a seller. It protects Rick Propstein 123 as a consigner. So people buy and they get what they expect. I do not want to gyp people. The other aspect to this is if your grading percentage is very, very high, if you have a grading percentage or gem rate in the 90% or higher, what that tells me is you're not taking chances. And let me explain why. Let's say that I have 3 of these Luka Doncics, and my hope is that only one of them gems. Okay? Well, you may think that if only one of 3 gems, that's a 33.3% gem rate. Look at the financials for this, guys. If you're spending about $50 per card and one of them gems, that one card pays for all the other ones, regardless of what grade they get. So sure, if you can be perfect and you can identify this card for $227 and then sell these other 2 raw for whatever the raw price is, that's fine. But the thing is if you submit a lot of cards, you're likely going to get some gem mint cards in your grades that you wouldn't have gotten had you tried to shoot for a 90% gem rate. So essentially take the chance, because if it pays off, even if the extra chances that you take, you're rolling the dice to get a 33% win on, for example, one of these 3 Lukas, it makes sense to roll the dice, because if you hit once, it will pay for you rolling the dice. That's why I submit everything. There's only a handful of cards that I did not submit, and that's because they were absolutely terrible. I mean, they were very, very bad. So the cards that I do not send are very, very bad. Whether it be damaged, something is really bad with a card that it would not get really an 8 or a 9. So these I do sell off as raw, but I try to grade as many cards as I can just to maximize one, my value and my ROI by getting more gym min assignments, but also to protect myself as a seller or protect the consignor because I'm not really selling the cards on my own. So, guys, this is living proof. I want you all to see this. $12,693. $12,693. Just on one graded card order. Just on, I repeat, $12,693 just on one graded card order. My strategy is that every single month that I have a graded card order going to PSA. Now, Rona's kind of screwed with that. Rona's hurt that model. So as I have a graded card order going out, I want a graded card order coming in. And as this grows, I'm not taking this $12,693. This might as well be called margin. Because I'm not taking this and pocketing it and going and buying fancy clothes or fancy whatever. What I'm doing is what every intelligent investor does, is they reinvest this back into cards. So I have $21,663 that I have forwarded to my PayPal. Guess what I'm doing with that? That's paying off my credit card bills for all the cards that I just bought to replenish my inventory to then send for another graded card order. And I rinse and repeat over and over and over and over. And that's the strategy. So guys, for those of you who think that sports cards are dead, or those who have friends that think sports cards are dead, show them this video. Sports cards aren't dead. They're definitely not dead. And you can make a lot of money buying and selling sports cards, specifically grading sports cards. So thanks guys for checking this out. Keep an eye out for another mail day, as I have another 300 cards. I just did a 500 card mail day a couple of days ago. I have another 300 cards. They are currently 2,000 miles away, so I'm not going to be able to get them. I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to get them within the next week. If I do get them within the next week, I'm going to do a mail day video, but I'm going to have a lot more content coming out over the upcoming week. Especially, I'm going to have another Michael Jordan video. I'm going to have another hot list video coming out within the next 2 weeks. But hopefully, guys, I will also have a PSA mail day video. Currently, I have, after I shipped off my 5 orders today, I have 9 orders at PSA. So that whole model of sending an order out, having order come in, well, there's a backlog at PSA, and right now I have 9 orders in the queue. So as soon as I get all those in, I'm gonna have a ton of videos and a ton of content and a ton of breaks for you guys to look at. So I hope that you guys like this. I hope that this inspires you as well, because you can actually make money flipping cards. And it takes skill and it takes analytics to do so, but you can certainly do it. So thanks guys for checking out the video. Appreciate it.